All right, last question I have for you. Marketing myth busters. Help me prove or bust the myth that marketers aren't sending enough emails.
Marketers think they're sending too many emails. Marketers are sending bad emails, but the best marketers happen to also be the most frequent senders. Look at the best marketers on the planet. Look at Apple. Look at Amazon. Look at the absolute best marketers on the planet and go look at how many emails they send. They're sending an incredible number of emails daily. It's not about how often are you sending necessarily. It's about, are you sending good stuff? I would take emails from Amazon and Apple and the NFL and this one and that one every day, probably twice a day, because I know it's going to be good stuff. So frequency and relevancy are married together. So if you think you're sending out too much and it's not working, you're sending out too much garbage, and I would just revisit it.
So, how do you fix the garbage problem when you're struggling to send out good emails in the first place? How do you stop, figure out what's good, and then figure out how to send more of it?
So the first thing I would say to you is, do you open your own emails, right? If you receive
No,
your
I wrote
company,
them.
right? Well, no, but let's say in your organization, they send out your newsletters, send out your stuff, and you just scroll past it yourself. Do you scroll past your own company newsletters when it comes in your inbox and your own promotional emails when it comes in your inbox? If you do, then you yourself think that they're garbage. And to me, that is the light bulb moment, like, whoa. That happened with me in my newsletter in my company. I would get it. And I was like, I don't know, that thing's garbage. Terrible. I know it's gonna be boring. And as soon as I did that, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. If I think it's bad, everybody must think it's bad. Right. And the other thing that people get confused about is open rates, email open rates. You can listen to 20 different podcasts and they'll say, well, open rates on emails are no longer a thing. They're irrelevant. Ignore them. Right. And the reason people say that, and by the way, if you send out 100,000 emails and your system says 20,000 are open, you have a 20% open rate. The reason I say 20 podcasts will say to ignore open rates is that what happens with open rates now is it's an inflated metric. If you go in your email sending tool and it says you have a 28% open rate, you don't. It's not true. It's not real. And the reason it's not true and not real is that there's a lot of things like bots and Apple's automatically opening things. Everything is inflating that open rate metric. So people say ignore it, which is the dumbest thing in the world. Your open rate is no longer an absolute metric, right? It's not true that 28% of people opened up that email that you sent, but it's a directional metric that's telling you a lot of important information. So you listen to this crazy podcast and Jay says, oh, I should test a number at the start of my subject line. And you do an A/B test. You take 50,000 people and you put the number 7 at the start of the subject line, and 50,000 people and you don't put a number in the subject line. And you know what? The one with a number had a 40% open rate, and the one without a number had a 30% open rate. Now, did 40% of the people open up that email? No. But you know the one with the number did better. You know that's the rabbit hole to go down. And so, you want to be thinking about these little things like, what should I be doing to get looking to see my benchmarks? Is it getting better? Am I doing better? And your open rate is one of those things that can tell you that.
Fundamentally, with email marketing, it's death by a thousand cuts. There's lots of little things, little
Yes.
nuance, little words, little
Yes.
what are you putting in the front of the open? How are you titling? What's
Yeah.
your phrasing for your call to action? Every little thing matters. And when you start to get those things right, you come up with more compelling, interesting subject lines and topics. You engage people more. They start consuming the content. They get in the pattern of behavior of starting to actually enjoy what you're sending. And then you've got a valuable, viable marketing channel that you can continue to use over time to try to drive your sales and other promotional efforts. But if you're not getting the basic blocking and tackling of finding something that is interesting for your list, you're dead on arrival.